so we're so excited. We are here to talk about Overboard, both 1987 and 2018, to hash out the differences, which one's best. And my friend AJ is here to do that with me.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, this is back from our intense debate over Watcher in the Woods.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that was actually really fun. I enjoyed that podcast. We talked about the new and the old version of. It's kind of interesting when you compare like two flawed films, because like
Yeah,
it's not really that interesting to compare, like, I don't know, Citizen Kane with Overboard. Like, that's not interesting, but like, but but to compare two flawed films and see which things they did differently and how they were, what they did with the remake, I think is actually interesting. So
yeah, definitely.
and so we're gonna talk Overboard today, the remake and the new. And so had you ever seen the original Overboard before this week?
I had seen. Oh yeah, I had seen part of it, like maybe like 20 minutes when I was like really young. I remember we were at like a friend of the family's house, and I wasn't really watching it. I was like, I don't know, maybe I was weirded out because I was in someone else's house and I didn't really know all that well. But I remember that they were watching Overboard, and that was like my only experience with it up to that point, up to recently.
Yeah. It's a movie that I've seen fairly recently. It hasn't been that long, but it's a movie that does feel it has a lot of nostalgia, even though I didn't watch it as a kid. There's just something about the feeling of it that feels nostalgic. So it feels very like screwball comedies from the 40s, I think. So I don't know, there's just a lot of parts of it that just feel like a forgotten era, I guess.
Yeah, like now that you mentioned it, I didn't really realize how screwball. Oh, I guess I kind of did.
Yeah.
Maybe even not. I don't know. I never think about comparing it to a comedy from the 40s, but I do understand that it is very broad.
Yeah.
Like even more broad than the remake.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking of like the kids and the way the kids are depicted, especially.
Yeah.
How they're basically feral wild children in
right.
the original film, and not
and all the things with her cleaning, that's all very, very slapstick, very screwball. There's just a lot of moments like that. And there's a lot of moments where you can almost hear the little like dum kind of sound effects going off and stuff like that. And so I don't know, what did you think about this movie, the original? When you saw it? Yeah.
I liked it. Like, I think it was just a solid comedy. Like, kind of like, I think of it almost like in terms of like a baseball analogy, just like a good base hit, Nothing really great, but it's an enjoyable way to spend an afternoon. And I like Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's certainly very fair. I think this movie starts, like, you kind of have to get over the premise. It's a little bit awkward, the idea, like it's very convoluted and very, very much a stretch, but you kind of have to get over that. And then once you kind of get over that initial premise, it's pretty good. I really like it. I like the fact that you have this woman who comes to sort of understand that she is a maternal character, that she is actually good at being a mother. And she never saw that side of herself, and she's very over the top at the beginning, this, shrew kind of character.
Yeah.
But I like that she kind of realizes, it makes her an interesting character, a dynamic character, because she could just be like totally one note.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of interesting because this is a kind of a premise where if it's going to work well at the beginning, both of the characters had to be kind of unlikable at the beginning, both of the main characters. It's like, because Goldie Hawn is very snooty at the beginning, and Kurt Russell does something really, really, really not good.
Yeah.
Really, if it had happened in real life. But like once you kind of accept that, which you do kind of about at and maybe the midpoint or so, maybe a little bit less than that, then it's more enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, you kind of have to be willing to, and that's why the movie has gotten like some degree of controversy or whatever, because people are like, that's not good to like basically manipulate a person into being your slave. Like that's bad. But I don't think that the movie necessarily validates his choice. Like he does it out of revenge, and he's not a good. I don't think the movie's saying that he's a good person for doing this, but I do think that you have to kind of get over that initial premise to enjoy the movie.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Does everybody know what the initial premise is? Because we've kind of talked around it up to this
Yeah.
point.
So basically, Goldie Hawn plays this woman who is on this yacht, and she is a diva extraordinaire. She wants everything done her way. She hires Kurt Russell to build these drawers, this like entertainment center and drawers and stuff for her. And he designs them pretty fancy, but she decides last minute that she wants them different. And he says, oh, you got to change them all. He says, well, you have to pay me for the work I've already done. I'm going to have to get new stuff and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, I'm not going to pay you. So they get into this fight, and she throws him like overboard and all his tools and everything like that. And he's really angry, very upset with her. Well, she ends up getting basically like drunk, and she ends up falling off of the boat. And when she washes ashore, she can't remember anything. She doesn't remember who she is. Well, the Kurt Russell character is behind all this money, and he sees that this woman doesn't know who she is. And so he decides to go and tell her that they are husband and wife, that they are married. And basically, like, his plan is to use her for housework and for other things until he gets his money back, is his plan. So it's kind of a skeevy plan. He has 3 kids that are kind of hellions. And she starts out not really knowing how to do anything, but then she starts to learn, and she becomes actually pretty good at doing all these maternal things that she didn't think that she could be good at. And so it's kind of a fish out of water in a lot of instances. And her and the boys become very attached, and that's very sweet. And so that's the basic story. And of course they fall in love, as it's sort of opposites attract kind of a thing by the end. And and then eventually, of course, she finds out who she really is, gets her memory back, and all of that fun stuff. So I don't know, what do you think of the story?
I think it's a fun premise, when you hear it, like, initially, like, you can see how you can have a lot of fun with it. You kind of like we were saying, you kind of have to accept some stuff at the beginning, and not just character stuff. Like, there's some logic leaps that you have to make at the beginning of this movie. It's like they established that, like, nobody really likes Goldie Hawn, not even her husband, not her crew on her yacht, or anybody. And so, like, when she falls off the boat, it's like nobody cares. Like, they know where she is, and the husband just basically says, nah, whatever.
Yeah.
And the crew basically does the same thing. So you kind of have to accept that somebody would do that to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, her husband, Edward Herman, plays her husband, and he almost has been looking for a reason to get rid of her. But he doesn't want to actually, like, divorce her, because then she takes all of his money, in divorce. So he's, like, looking for kind of a reason. He's glad almost when he thinks that she's dead. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's kind of that you get a little bit of her mother in there, calling and a few other things, but she doesn't have any real love in her life as the rich version of Goldie Hawn. And that's the difference between, obviously, the poor version of Goldie Hawn's character. So, but
yeah, once you get through all that stuff and basically kind of put it aside, then I like the story a lot. I think it unfolds well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the heart and the funny, this movie is funny, and I think Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell have such great chemistry. They sell a lot of stuff that other people can't sell, and it never really stops being funny, and the dialogue is funny, and the pratfalls and stuff are funny. And I don't know, I relate to it because my mom had 3 babies as I was an older child. when I was 10, when I was 16, and when I was 18, and and there was a positive experience, obviously, but it kind of made me a little bit cynical about I would see other people, and they would see a baby and they'd be like, "Ooh, so beautiful," and I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, just keep them away from me. There's so much work. It's so hard," whatever. And I would sometimes hear things at church, and people would talk about this like maternal, like this I called the ooey gooey talks, where like women are described as having this like innate nature to mother and nurture and raise children and all this stuff. And I'd be like, I don't feel like they're talking about me. And I didn't feel like I had that kind of maternal nurturing side to me. And but you know, it took me a long time before I really, and I still don't think I'm like the greatest person when it comes to like kids, like little kids, especially like a crowd of, forget it. Like I would be a terrible kindergarten teacher. But I don't know, like I related to her kind of like opening up to that whole side of her that she didn't really even realize that she had, and with these boys.
Yeah, definitely. And I can't really say that I totally related to Kurt Russell's character, because I don't think I would ever do what he
I
does.
hope not.
But it's like even though you don't agree with him, you could see where he comes from, and I think that's good. Like I've felt the way that he does towards Goldie Hawn, like as he's building the closet, you know, remodeling the closet for her, how kind of grumbling and stuff like that. I know I've done that before on jobs when you know, and like the money problems and stuff. But I kind of like how, because the movie is very relaxed. It feels like kind of relaxing almost to watch it, you know? And I think that's partly because, of course, Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn were already together as a real life couple by this point. And it feels like this was a movie that they made partly just because they wanted to hang out together and work together, you know? And I think that comes through on the screen, you know, that they were just relaxing and having a good time.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like the rest of the cast was doing.
Kind of fed off that. And that's such a key in any kind of romantic comedy is if you have good chemistry, you can overcome like the biggest controversies in the whole world. If you want to see these people together, it just helps so much. And I don't know. Were there any particular parts that stuck out to you as either particularly funny or particularly sweet or anything like that?
Let's see. This one I only watched. I started to rewatch it this afternoon because we were originally going to do this podcast about a month ago, half a month ago. I watched the movie then, and I didn't have time to rewatch it again today because I had to rush out to see the remake actually today.
No, you're fine.
But let's see. I just liked. Maybe I can. I really like the moment where like Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn go out together on their date. I can't remember if it was for their anniversary like it was in the remake, but that whole story that he tells about the couple and like why ships blow their horns 3 times, you know, that whole scene where he talks about the couple who one was rich and how the guy was rich. I can't remember. The girl was poor, and so they couldn't be together. And he was sailing out. The guy and the girl comes out to meet him, and they had arranged that he would blow his horn 3 times on his ship because as a symbol of how much he loved her. And they just tell this whole story about that and the horns and stuff like that. And I thought that was really sweet. I wish I remembered the story. I knew all enough to recount it, but I thought that was a really neat moment. Not necessarily a funny moment, but a good emotion. Yeah.
That is a really, really sweet moment. My favorite parts were, I mean, it's just, I actually thought it was very sweet. Anything with the kids, I thought was really sweet. Like when she goes in to talk to the school and that's really good. I like the whole part with the miniature golf course, putt
Oh yeah,
golf. I liked that. I liked her, like, just the cleaning scenes and all that stuff was funny. There's just a lot of funny parts of this movie,
yeah.
and so yeah.
I thought a lot of the funniest moments for me was when like Kurt Russell first brings Goldie Hawn home. And she's like, "I live here," you know,
Yeah.
like I have kids.
Yeah, because I almost feel like it's more a movie about a woman falling in love with these children, almost as much, if not more so, than falling in love with with this man.
Yeah,
And falling in love with being a mother, to me, and helping the one boy to read. That's really lovely, and and some of um, the some of the other things like that are just so sweet and really really fun.
but yeah, definitely. And I really like seeing Goldie Hawn's arc as a character. Even after she goes back, like after she discovers who she really is again, and she goes back. I love those
Yeah,
moments when she's like hanging out with the crew. How she feels more comfortable with them when she comes back than she does with her family.
yeah,
How she's
yeah.
more down to earth now. I really like those moments too, just seeing how she had changed from the
Mhm.
beginning of the film to the end.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's really sweet. So yeah, it's a lot of it's a lot of fun. It's a really it's kind of a classic. It really feels like a Gary Marshall kind of film, and I get why some people are offended by it, but it's just it's a screwball comedy. I think you can't take it super seriously. It's not trying to like state some political message or something like that.
Yeah.
So
One one thing I kind of noted isn't exactly about the movie itself. It's just kind of a funny thing about Kurt Russell. I think Kurt Russell must really like yachts and stuff like that, because this is like one of two movies I can think of that seem like he just kind of did them for fun. And they both have to do with yachts. There's Overboard, and then there's Captain Ron in
yeah,
1992, where he plays.
I haven't seen that. Is that good?
It's pretty good. Like, I mean, it's not super good, but Kurt Russell is good as kind of this boozy, this boozy freelance captain that Martin Short and his family hired to.
Yeah.
This really scuzzy looking guy, and he and Martin Short have good chemistry together, more like bickering kind of chemistry, but they're really good together.
Yeah. So, would you give over the original Overboard? I on my blog I do smile worthy and frown worthy. So kind of like thumbs up, thumbs down. What would you give Overboard?
I would say it's smile worthy.
Yeah.
Like you said, there are leaps you have to make, but it's good enough that you're willing to make those those leaps with the movie. And once you do that, it's good.
Yeah. So let's talk about this remake. You just saw this today. I saw it on Thursday, and so it's fairly fresh, pretty close, I would say, remake in certain ways. And then they try to kind of smooth over some of the controversial parts. We'll talk about that. But it stars, they decide to gender swap it, which is part of how they're trying to smooth over. But they have Anna Faris playing sort of the Kurt Russell role as Kate. And then they have Eugenio Derbez playing Leonardo, who is supposed to be the Annie character. And first of all, I don't know why you have an Overboard remake and you don't have Kate Hudson playing her mom. Like, that just seems so perfect. Like, maybe she's just too busy with that whole Fabletics clothing thing that she does now, but that seems like perfect casting.
Yeah, she would have been good.
Yeah. But anyway, so they changed things up in this version. They definitely tried to make it more, they tried to give her a lot more motivation, because like in the original he's just trying to enact revenge. He just hates her, and here she's like she has no childcare, and she's like trying to pass this test, and so she's like desperate, and he becomes there comes this window for her to be able to trick him, kind of like maybe excuse her doing this kind of awful thing in a way. And I don't know, in general, what did you think about the remake? What's your overall thoughts?
I thought it was good.
Uh-huh.
Like, I think there are less. I like kind of like the way that they restructured the story, like, and not even so much with the characters, even though I don't mind that. It's more like they kind of rewrote some moments to make it more sense why they would leave Leonardo behind, after he falls off the ship, like off the yacht. Excuse me.
Yeah.
It's like I actually get it this time from a movie standpoint. It's like
it's not just her drunked out mess of a husband, like in the original. Yeah, it's true. My feeling about this movie was it wasn't a train wreck like I was expecting. If you saw it on cable, it'd be fine. You can watch it, and it's not terrible. It has a nice heart to it. But I felt like they took out all the funny. I didn't think it was funny, and that was like a huge appeal of the original film. And so to me, it was kind of boring. It went super sincere, super instead of funny. Went super sincere instead of funny. And to me, this whole concept is so ridiculous that you kind of have to lean into the funny. Otherwise, it was just kind of boring for me. But anyway, we'll talk about it. So, Anna Faris, I mean, she plays, it's very different than Kurt Russell as far as, because his character, he's just kind of lazy and not taking care of the house and not really doing a good job raising these kids. And I mean, he works hard, but as far as he's certainly at home, not really doing a good job. And then he seeks revenge. Whereas the Anna Faris character is going to nursing school and all this stuff. And that might flesh out her character, but it just kind of takes out the funny. It's just not as funny to me.
I can see that. I didn't really laugh a whole lot over the course of the movie.
No.
I think there was only one moment where I laughed out loud.
Yeah.
And that was back when Leonardo still kind of knew who he was, when Anna Faris was on the ship for the first time.
Yeah.
He sort of tries to get her to bring him the mango and the papaya.
Yeah.
That moment did kind of make me laugh.
And I thought there were a couple funny moments with the other construction people that he's working with. Like when they're the rich guy in the house is like, hey, can you guys go work somewhere else, trying to have a nice morning or whatever. And the two guys in the construction are like, no habla inglés, and the guy just kind of looks down or whatever sheepishly. And they're like, we love to do that, trick people. That was funny. There were a couple funny moments, I thought, between I thought the Eva Longoria character had a couple chuckle moments between her and her husband and her and but other than that, it was pretty I thought there were a couple funny moments with the guy in the restaurant who's always watching the telenovelas.
Yeah.
That was funny, but I don't know, that was few and far between. So you're expected to like this movie based on a sincere drama. And it just didn't work for me. I didn't really care for the film, but like I said, it was not a complete train wreck like I was expecting. So I thought that, what do you think of Eugenio Derbez?
I thought he was good. I guess I related with him.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think his character arc was as good as Goldie Hawn's. I think she did a better job of showing how the character had changed. You know? Because at the end of the movie, I was kind of looking for that, and I didn't really feel like he had really changed at the end,
Well, and they shouldn't have had him say Goldie Hawn's lines, because her speech, because it didn't really make sense with his character. His character is so different than Goldie Hawn's character, and it didn't really work. They should have written new dialogue for that. But he was charming. I saw him last year in How to Be a Latin Lover. And it's not a great movie. It's funnier than this, but it wasn't funny enough for me to like recommend. But he can be very funny, and he is a funny guy. And I think that obviously they were trying to package this for a Latin American audience, obviously, or a Latino audience. And I think that they will like it enough. I think that they'll like him. He's very popular there, and it has enough sort of, I don't know, it's just packaged in a way with the other construction workers and the others, you know, Eva Longoria's character and some other things that I think it will really, the whole thing with telenovelas, they will really like. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if it makes quite a bit of money down there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I would think. And that's fine. You know, if you want to make a movie for an audience, that's fine. It just, I don't know, it just wasn't funny enough for me. But I thought, was pretty charismatic, and he was pretty sweet. And I liked him with the kids. I thought that worked actually quite well.
Yeah, it did work well.
Yeah. And that scene where the ending scene, which is so sad in the original, is sad here also. And the little girl following the car with her, you know, bike with no training wheels that he taught her how to ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that does work well.
Yeah, it does. I don't know how do you feel about their chemistry?
I didn't really feel like there was a lot of it between them, but I don't know. I think that's partly because they just didn't have chemistry together, but also because Anna Faris wasn't really given a lot to do in this movie. She's just kind of there.
Yeah, agreed. She's just kind of the straight man kind of role, and he's the one that's given most of the character growth. He's the one that's given most of any humor that's there, and he's given all of the growth with the kids. You never understand why these kids would go along with this. Like, they're kind of ornery kids, so it seems hard for me to believe that they would just lockstep, you know, no question, we're going to go along with this, Mom. This thing, like, seems a little hard to believe. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that they had great chemistry. And I didn't like Anna Faris in this as much as I expected. Enough. That's just because I was comparing her to Goldie Hawn. But I don't know. She seemed tired.
Yeah, and like even like early in the movie, like she doesn't get the same kind of anger that Kurt Russell does. Like, she tried really hard, you know, but like that first time on the yacht where he throws her off the yacht, like in the original movie, you can really feel like Kurt Russell, like, he really can't take it anymore, you know? And you don't really get that in this remake. It didn't feel like it really had that kind of power behind it, you know?
Yeah. And it's hard because the original, they had such chemistry.
Yeah.
Because they're an actual couple, you know? And so I think the only way that you could have replicated that is to get an actual couple.
Get Chris Pratt to play the other guy with Anna Faris.
Yeah, pre-breakup.
Yeah. I did not know that. Okay.
Oh, you didn't? Sad.
Okay, now. Okay.
Yeah, they did. I know, so sad. But yeah, maybe that's why she was just depressed when she made this movie. She looked tired. And granted, that's sort of her character. She's really tired and frazzled. But I don't know. I'm not going to say she phoned it in because I don't think that's too far. That's going too far. But it was just kind of a flat performance. And I felt like he was sort of more invested in really making this like a great movie. And I did think he had good chemistry with the little kids, the little girls, and he was going for it with the comedic moments that he had. And so it's interesting. And I did not think that the mother was funny at all. That didn't make me laugh.
Which is sad because Swoosie Kurtz is actually really funny in other stuff, like in Liar Liar, which is what I know her from. She's quite good in that.
Yeah.
But
she was on Molly and Mike and Molly. And also there were a couple parts of this movie that I think got cut because there's like a couple moments where like her friend has these like these lucky lottery numbers, and then there's a couple other moments like that, and you think that there's going to be more to that, and I thought, oh, she's going to end up becoming rich in the end or something like that. She's going to get this money, and then it just kind of didn't go anywhere. A couple of the plot points didn't really kind of go anywhere. And let's see. Oh yeah, I was right. So she's the mom in Mike and Molly. So, which is a decent show, actually. Like, it has obviously Melissa McCarthy is hilarious. It has Katie Mixon, who's hilarious in my opinion, and it has Swoozie Kurtz. So, pretty good cast.
Actually, my favorite side character in the movie. Well, I like the construction workers a lot. Actually, maybe
they were very funny
character, but one of the more underrated side characters was John Hannah, who plays the Scottish guy who runs the yacht. You know, I placed him all through the movie, trying to think of where I'd seen him. At the very end, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's in The Mummy.
Oh yeah.
It's like, holy cow! And at the very end, I realized where I had seen him.
I think that they gave Roddy McDowall a lot more to do in the original, a lot more funny lines.
Yeah.
But he was fun. I just wish they had used him more.
Yeah.
I know him because he's in. He plays the romantic lead, oddly enough, in Sliding Doors. Did you ever see that with Gwyneth Paltrow? It's pretty cute. It's a better premise than execution, but it's still solid.
Yeah.
It's about Gwyneth Paltrow's character. In one, there's two timelines in her life, and in one timeline she makes the bus or makes the train, and then in the other timeline she doesn't. And in one timeline she ends up breaking up with her boyfriend. The other timeline she doesn't for a longer time. And anyway, so it's like you see these two versions of her. And what happens? Just this one little different thing. One minute she makes a bus, a subway. Next minute she doesn't. It's cute. But anyway, he's in that. but yeah, I wish they'd kind of given him more to do. But he was fine. Yeah, I don't know. Like, for me, this movie is just completely dispensable. I'm going to forget about it in Jeremy Jahns, like you said, that he gets a score of I will remember this movie in T-1 day. I already forgot. That's how I feel. That's how I feel about this movie. I remember it T-1 day. Already forgot. It just wasn't funny enough, and I just don't need a sincere version of. I can just watch the original, which is funny and equally sweet. And more romantic, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not fair to compare it to the original, but how can you not when they're literally reciting dialogue the same? I mean, they kept it pretty close. They had some weird attempts at humor, though. Like, not only the weird grandma theater scenes were terrible, but also, what'd you think of that Brody joke? From Jaws.
If you caught that, that was really weird because it's
so weird.
It seemed like really dark for a joke. Like when they showed that one of his arms is bitten off, I'm like, it would have been okay if they had just shown the name tag, and say, if you just had him say, "I would know a shark attack if it happened,"
Yeah.
That would have been funny, but it kind of got not funny when you saw that he had a limb missing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird. So weird. The fact that it was like I do think it's like watchable. It's not awful, but I just don't think it's particularly good, and they just got rid of the funny. That was the biggest mistake to me.
Yeah.
Don't get rid of the funny. But if this was coming on to like TNT or something like that on a Saturday and you were bored, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's what I would say, but I can't give it a smile worthy. For me, frown worthy. I can't give it a smile worthy. Just wasn't good enough.
For me, it's probably just neutral. It's not like super good, and it's not like super bad either. I can't even muster enough energy to feel one way or the other about it. It's just a movie.
Yeah, but at least it didn't not like Pitch Perfect 3 that I hated with a passion or something. You know what I mean? Something like that. At least it's not that. So if any of you guys watching or listening saw this Overboard or the original, what do you think? Put in the comment section. Let us know. And yeah, we'd be very curious to find out. So thanks for coming on and talking to me about Overboard. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
And if you guys have ideas for other pairings of remakes, old versus new, what we can do, let us know, and we'll do it. That'll be a lot of fun. And they don't have to all be comedies.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. And AJ, how can people find you?
You can find me at my blog, which is vintagevestibule.wordpress.com.
Find me at Rachel's Reviews on iTunes and YouTube, and at Smiling LDS on social media. So check that all out. And we will talk again soon. It'll be really fun.
Yes.
Bye.